Good morning, everyone. Our first song for this morning will be 499. What a friend we have in Jesus.
All right, could we have all the class teachers come up on stage? And then we'll all introduce our classes for this morning. So we have Gabriel Hagen, you want to come up? And then Da Vinci, is he in the tent? Okay. So Martha and I will be teaching the canning class or food preservation class. So it's going to be like a very hands-on class where you learn how to preserve food. This morning is going to be peaches, how to can peaches, different ways of doing it. And then we're going to try to do it very hands-on so you guys can get the real experience in cutting them up yourself and putting them in jars and that type of stuff.
Also, tomorrow morning we'll do green beans, and we're going to pressure can those. And Friday morning we'll do applesauce. We're going to be in the schoolhouse, which is over there.
Good morning, I'm Gabriel Hagen, and I'll be taking care of the 1 to 5-year-olds. So if you have children within that age group, we're going to be in the church, in the Sabbath school room, so you can follow me in there. I would ask if you have like a 1-year-old, parents would stay with your child. We are going through the week of creation this week, and we're going to have a lot of hands-on activities, so I'm looking forward to spending time talking about creation.
Good morning. Do we have some 12 to 17-year-old people here? Raise your hands very high. I'm looking forward to see you all. So we will be talking about, the theme will be basically serving God as a missionary where you are. We'll be having themes such as what mission actually means, ambition for that which is good, mental health and obstacles, and making the purpose that you have continually last. So these will be some of the topics we'll be covering. Forward to see you.
Good morning, everyone. I'm David Kleindentz. The class that we're doing is called Living an Evangelistic Life, where we'll be talking about the principles of personal evangelism. How do you connect with people in friendship? How do you bring up a spiritual subject into a conversation? How do you know when the door is open? How do you know when the door is closed? How do you share your testimony in 3 to 5 minutes? How do you help people make spiritual decisions and move forward in their life and coming across in a way where you're not pressuring, but you're genuinely connecting with them? And so that's what we'll be doing at 10 a.m. in the sanctuary today, tomorrow, and on Friday.
Good morning, y'all. I'm Walt Cross, and this morning we're going to be talking about chronic diseases or acute issues, and based on what y'all want to talk about.
Well, it's my honor to introduce our speaker this morning. I asked him how he wants to be introduced, and he said, Walt Cross. So I think most of you are familiar with Walt. Walt, we're glad you're here with us, and we're honored that you're here with us this week. And we look forward to your talks. If you can't be in his class, I want to assure you that this is being recorded, and it will be posted on our YouTube page. You can always go back, for those of you that can't be here. So we're going to split up. For those of you that like to be with Walt, you'll stay right here. And for those of you that would like to be with David in evangelism training, I'll be in the sanctuary. And then 6 and up are with Da Vinci in the tent, the dining tent over here. And the food preservation classes are in the schoolhouse. God bless you. And we hope you're blessed today with with His presence and with the respective classes that you choose to be part of. Thank you. Thank you, Walt, for being here.
Good morning, y'all. Y'all gonna understand me? How many of y'all from South? Okay, well, I'll try to tighten it up a little bit. Let's see here now. I was telling Gabriel this morning that I was in Brazil just a couple months ago, and various ones were there, and they said, well, we need folks to translate from English to Portuguese, and for you we need 2 translators, one from English to Portuguese and whatever you're saying to English, because they didn't understand me. Okay, let's look here real quick. So in looking at what to cover with y'all, and y'all have had so many different presenters over time. Is that going to go up there okay? I'll let you fix that, and I'll just talk. So as I go and share with folks usually will choose what they want to hear about in health. It can be from chronic diseases, how to address from getting to cardiovascular disease, how to reverse atherosclerosis, how to effectively reverse hypertension, how to reverse or significantly improve congestive heart failure, to type 2 diabetes or whatever from a chronic disease standpoint. Or it can be as specific as what is oral biome and how do you address oral biome, and what is gut biome and how do you address gut biome. So I'm opening it to y'all. What would y'all like to hear this morning? Okay, too good. So how to address hypertension, high blood pressure, and how to address anger. So let's start with those, and then we can continue on. So there's a couple keys in health, and those keys actually go back a few years. And let me share with you how long ago they go. It was Friday morning. General Robert E. Lee was traveling from Fredericksburg over to Culpeper. Now, has anybody ever heard of Culpeper, Virginia? Okay, what is Culpeper known for? The flag. Has anybody ever seen the Culpeper Minutemen flag? It's a yellow flag with what on it? A rattlesnake. And what does it say? Don't tread on me. Have y'all seen that flag? Well, what that was, during the Revolutionary War, that was the Culpeper, Virginia Minutemen who were fighting the Redcoats, and that flag was telling the Redcoats, don't tread on them, or they were telling England, don't tread on us. Now, why did they have a rattlesnake? It was venomous, yes, but it also had a rattle. And that rattle was a warning. It was a warning to England. We don't want to bite you. Just leave us alone. But if you bother us, we will bite you. And so that's where that came from. Well, General Lee, this is years later, and it's in 1863. It's June 5. June 5, 1863, General Lee is taking the Northern Virginia Army from Fredericksburg to Culpeper for Friday evening. Then they're going to continue on to the Shenandoah Valley, go north, and head up to Pennsylvania. And what happened in July? Gettysburg, correct. So Lee's cutting, Lee's Friday morning. Abraham Lincoln sends General Hooker, to cut him off, but Hooker missed him. And if Hooker had caught Lee, we probably wouldn't have had Gettysburg. If Hooker had been effective. And so that's Friday. What year? What? 1863. And it was what month? June. And what was the date? The 5th. It was a Friday. Well, the same day, the same morning, there was 3 buggies got buggied up, and they headed from Battle Creek up to a little community about 30 miles northeast, and I'm trying to remember the name of the town, Otsego, Michigan, where they're having an evangelistic series. Elder White, Mrs. White, and a couple other families went up there to support the evangelistic series. Well, that evening, as it started to get sundown, they asked Mrs. White if she'd have prayer and for sundown worship, and she went into vision. And that is when we learned the health message, as 1863. And so we've known this information for a number of years. Thank you, sir. And will that go bigger? Let's see if I can make it go bigger. Let's see here. Let's see. There we go. Oh, no, I don't want that. Let's see. Let's go up to the one above it. There we go. Great. So there's some basic principles that we learned from that vision, and they're basic laws of health. How many laws of health did we learn? How many? 8. Well, I've added one. I've added an extra law, and it actually comes, and I find it very, very important as I work with people, and actually Mrs. White speaks about it quite a bit, and actually it's in Proverbs. Yeah, Proverbs what? 17:22. A merry heart doeth good like a medicine. And I find that there are people, which kind of going back to what you were saying, there are people who are mean as a striped snake. You know anybody like that? Anybody know anybody mean? You know some mean people? Yeah. And there's people who just enjoy being mean, negative. And then there's people who, they just waller in the mud. You know what wallering in the mud means? You know, like an old hog wallering in the mud. And they've had something happen in their past, or they have a health issue, and they enjoy wallering in it. I was speaking with someone just the other day, and they had cancer, and they don't have cancer anymore. But what are they doing? They're still wallering in the mud that they had cancer. Does that affect the rest of the body? It does. Cognitive function affects every function in the body. But does it also affect the people around you? Do you want to be around someone that's mean as a striped snake? No. Or have you ever been around people who just they're passive aggressive? I don't like being around passive aggressive people. I don't like it. Or people, pardon? They are toxic. True, they are. Or there's people who just find fault in people. They find fault in everything they can think of to find fault in. Does that affect them? It does. Yeah, there was a church in Tennessee they had some lab work done at the church, and they found that their majority of the church members had low protein. And so the nurse that had drawn the labs she talked to everybody. What do you eat for breakfast? What do you eat for dinner? What do you eat for supper? And everybody had good protein intake, but their blood protein was very poor. So she enlists the help of a physician, mutual friend, and he goes in and he asks people again, what do you eat for breakfast? What do you eat for dinner? What do you eat for supper? Adequate protein. But what was the problem? They were one of them churches, and maybe you've seen one of them churches before. They just found fault in everything. You ever been around them churches? Or those people? And what happens is when that person is constantly finding fault, tore up on everything. Y'all say tore up around here? You know what I mean? Okay. What happens is cortisol goes up, potassium drops. And when that happens, they go into something called fight or flight. And when fight or flight happens, a bunch of physiological things happen. Blood pressure goes up, clotting factor goes up, the glucose goes up, communication to the nerves increases, communication to the muscles. You're ready to fight or flight. You're ready to fight that bear or run. What does digestion do? Shuts down. Because you don't need to digest food when you're running from a bear. Well, when you're in fight or flight, you don't break the nutrients from macronutrients to micronutrients in the digestive system. And what happens is when we eat something, it goes in our mouth, down our esophagus, down in our stomach, and the stomach is supposed to be broke down into micronutrients, and then it turns into chyme. From the chyme, it goes into the duodenum, and you got little finger-looking things called villi, and they look like a finger, and they're like little vacuum cleaners. And they have blood vessel around the outside. They got a lymphatic vessel here in the middle, and they have micro screens, very small screens that suck up the micronutrients. The macronutrients, the two big items, that's too big, it doesn't soak it up because it doesn't belong in there. And the macro just goes on down to the colon to get worked on in the colon. Well, the problem is the protein needs to be broke down from macro to micro. But when we're in fight or flight, or when we're upset, have you ever eaten when you're upset and you just don't feel good? It's best just to skip the meal. There's times I'll just skip a meal, and Mary Lou go, I'll say, I'd probably better skip the meal. Because, my brain's just going wide open on something, and it's just better I skip that meal to get the nutritional value and not tear the stomach up. And what was happening in this church, because they were a church group that was always finding fault in what you did and what you did and what you did. Never about themselves, but about everybody else and about everybody up and down the line of chain of command. What happened was they were not breaking down macronutrients into micronutrients, and the protein wasn't getting broke down small enough, and it wasn't getting absorbed into the villi, getting into the blood. And it was just going right out the feces, even though they're eating an adequate amount of protein. And so a merry heart is very, very important. Not being Pollyanna, not being just flitting all over the place, but being positive, being strong. That is important. And then we know those other 8. What are some of those 8? What? Sunshine? Hot water? Exercise? Rest? Trust in God? Fresh air? Temperance, making the right decisions. Nutrition? Exercise? Yeah, those 8 basic foundational laws. So when we work with issues such as blood pressure, you cannot just say blood pressure. You've got to, are you following those 8 laws? Because those 8 laws are the foundation to the body running, and now we can then fine-tune on the blood pressure. Does that make sense? So blood pressure, hypertension. When we look at hypertension, I'm going to grab my water in just a moment. Excuse me. When we look at hypertension, there's a number of things that cause it. And you got to figure out which item it is. And y'all, I'm just no farm boy. I come off a dairy farm and beef cattle farm when I was a little boy. And so it has to make horse sense. I got to just understand it. I enjoyed going over and playing with the goats this morning. So if I'm taking sandpaper and I'm rubbing my arm, what's going to happen? It's going to take the hide off of it. And you come and say, oh, honey, you need some medicine on that. And you put medicine on it. And then when you leave, I go rub the sandpaper again. And you come back tomorrow and it's looking, oh, honey, it's looking real bad. You need to put some more medicine on it. You put more medicine on it. And then you leave, I go rub the sandpaper. Is it going to heal? No. Not till I stop the sandpaper. And so the key is I work with people and they come in, or I talk to people on the phone as we do consultations. What is their sandpaper? What's the cause? Everybody's different. It's not a cookie cutter. Everyone's different. Everybody has different physiology. Everybody has different things going on in their lives. And so you literally have to become an investigator. Now, the first 20 years of my career, I worked in regular health care, and we just treated signs and symptoms. Did we get rid of the problem? Not. We just masked and managed it. We covered it up. Well, my goal now is to get rid of it. Let's get rid of that blood pressure. Not just treat it with something, and then if you don't have that drug, it comes back again. Exactly. Well, it's problems. So what are things that cause hypertension? Number 1 cause of hypertension is stress. When adrenaline goes up and cortisol goes and potassium goes down, boom, you have hypertension. That is just physiology. Number 2 is dehydration. See, when you're dehydrated, your blood is thicker, your blood is thicker and stickier. Well, that's just hydraulics. You got to have a stronger pump to pump it. When you're dehydrated, the brain doesn't work as well. You're more prone to the first problem. What was the first problem? Stress. The next item, when you're dehydrated, the kidneys have to have adequate water. And one of the biggest mistakes physicians do is say, oh, we need to cut back on your water intake. Kidneys have to have adequate water, and they are the switches that regulate blood pressure. And if you aren't drinking adequate water and you're dehydrated, the kidneys are not going to work as well, therefore you're prone to hypertension. Another thing is it's through urination that you get rid of sodium. And if you don't drink enough water, you retain fluids. Your hypothalamus says you're in a drought, so it closes all the dam gates and you don't have water flow. And so when you have adequate water, then the brain goes, oh, you can open those dam gates, water can start flowing again. So you have sodium retention. The next thing is electricity in the body. Did y'all know you have electricity in your body? Well, if you didn't, you wouldn't be able to do an EKG. We measure electricity by something called conductivity. And the higher the electricity, the more prone you are to hypertension. And the salinity in the body affects the electricity. So the less water you have, the more salinity you have, or the concentration is of salt or mineralization, and that drives up blood pressure. Number 3 is outside ideal body weight. Now, whatever tool you use, it might be BMI, body mass index, which 99% of medical community uses BMI. I don't like BMI. It's not accurate. Well, you can use it, but it's not as accurate. People tell me, well, I have big bones. Or whatever the issue is. Well, you can use another tool which sports medicine uses, and that is percent body fat. And percent body fat is a lot more accurate because it takes into account gender, male, female. There's a difference in how y'all's body is and how our body is. It takes into account age. It takes into account, are you wanting to be a runner, or are you wanting to throw hay? There's a difference in what percent body fat you want. If you want to throw hay, or if you want to be a long-distance runner, a marathon runner. And so percent body fat is more accurate. So whatever tool you use, at least BMI is getting you closer to where most people aren't. So looking at ideal body weight. Another item that came out just a couple years ago that the American Heart Association found in June of 22 is that if you get less than 7 hours of sleep, you significantly increase your risk of high blood pressure. And sleep's a challenge. You know, are people getting adequate sleep? Are they getting that 8 hours of sleep? And it's just not the hours of sleep. What time are you going to sleep? Those hours before midnight, or twice the hours of sleep after midnight. We know that from 9 o'clock to, Harvard tells us between 9 o'clock to 10 o'clock, the brain does a deep cleaning. From 10 o'clock to midnight, it does a thorough cleaning. And you've got to be asleep for that to fully happen. That's called the glymphatic system, that we did not know when we went to school that the brain had a lymphatic system. It was just white on the lymphatic chart. And then they found in 2013, Harvard published, that the brain does have a lymphatic system, and it's called the glymphatic system. And so you've got to be asleep those hours before midnight. Did we ever hear that you had to be asleep before midnight? We heard that back in 1863. So God has told us a simple, just how he created the body, how the body's to run physiologically. Another item just came out November 1st of last year from Harvard, and that is November 1st, last year, 2025, and that is gut biome. The gut biome can affect hypertension, and if you have gut biome problems, then that can cause you to have high blood pressure. What things can cause your gut biome to have problems? Stress. How about what you eat? Definitely what you eat. There's a lot of things that affect gut biome. Actually, did you know that you swallow 1.5 liters of saliva a day? You do. And what goes on in the mouth, did you know you have over 700 bacteria on your tongue? Be careful who you kiss. What goes on in the mouth, then, as we swallow, goes down into the stomach, down into the intestines. And that can affect gut biome. There's many things that affect gut biome. Well, gut biome, according to Harvard, affects high blood pressure. So we need to take a look. Do we have leaky gut? Do we have, what's going on there? Another item is just kidney function, renal failure. If you're having renal issues, well, the kidneys are the switches for the blood pressure. So that's just horse sense there. Are you eating too much sugar? Walt, don't talk about sugar. When I go to Africa, Africa this week, Sabbath morning, we'll be starting our 20th program in Rwanda, and it's a 2-week program. And the people in the villages, in the bush, they don't eat many donuts. But in Kigali, they love donuts. Is that sugar? Yeah, sugar. And so Americans, do we like sugar? Yeah. Eating sugar can affect blood pressure. Can salt affect blood pressure? It does, because it affects the electricity we talked about, that conductivity. And it's not as much Celtic as it is, in Himalayan, as it is the little girl in the umbrella. The little girl with the umbrella, she'll kill you. That's the one you need to stay away from. But still, Celtic and Himalayan is salt, and you have to be careful with it. Sodium will increase the electricity in the body, therefore it's going to raise the blood pressure. But then, see, what are we looking for? Sandpaper. Another one is clogged arteries, atherosclerosis. If you have a pipe that's this big around and you restrict it down to a pipe this big around, what happens? Pressure goes. Let's say you want to wash your pickup truck and you want more pressure. You screw on a tip that has a smaller orifice. Now you have more pressure. So when we have clogged arteries, atherosclerosis, the pressure is going to go up. That's just hydraulics. Then the other one is arteriosclerosis, and that's hardening of the arteries. Now, if you have that pond out here, and let's say you're pumping water out of that pond out to do gardening, and with a bilge pump, and it's going, psh, psh. You ever seen those kind of pumps, bilge pumps? Psh, psh. Well, when it goes, psh, and you have a pipe that's flexible, and it flexes somewhat, that pressure is not going to be as high as if you have a rigid pipe, because it's not expanding on that higher pressure. And that's the way our vessels are. When we have that systolic pressure, that top number, and you have rigid pipe, the number's going to be higher. Another issue is the brain. Is the heart. Is the heart having problems? Are you having heart issues? And that's where I start. That's the sandpaper you want to start looking at. You want to rule out each one of those. I had a lady come to me one time. I was at a health fair, and she says, my husband has hypertension. None of the medicines are working. She worked in healthcare, and she says, give me something simple. I said, what kind of work does your husband do? She says, he works, he's a contractor, works outside, building houses, okay? Does construction work. How's his water consumption? He don't do water. What do you think they do? Mountain Dew. Pepsi, Coca-Cola, sweet tea. You know what sweet tea is? Sweet tea. People drink sweet tea up here? Where I'm from, sweet tea, you're going to put 2 to 3 cups of sugar in 1 gallon. It's at least. Sometimes they do more. So this guy did not drink water, but he's got water in sweet tea. But the sweet tea is caffeinated, therefore it's a diuretic, and that's now dehydrating him. So a lot of folks, not only are they not drinking their water, they're drinking caffeinated drinks, which is a diuretic, making them even more dehydrated. She said, give me something, just one thing. So I tried to figure out what his sandpaper was. I said, can you hog time? Y'all know what hog time is? Can you hog time and make him drink water? She says, I think I can do that. 2 weeks later, I went over to the hospital to speak and give a presentation at the boardroom on lifestyle medicine. And I get up to speak, and as the first time presenting, I just moved to the area. And as I'm setting up my projector, this lady goes, let me tell you about Walt. I hadn't even noticed her in the boardroom on the other end of the table. And it was that lady. Uh-oh. What's she going to say? So she tells a story. And she said, my husband cannot use any hypertensive medicine now because it would drive him too low. He's off his meds. He has normal blood pressure. It was just water. That's all it was. And the meds weren't even working. And so water can be extremely, extremely effective. So you've got to look at what is that potential root cause, remove those root causes. Is sleep expensive? No. Can exercise help? It can, absolutely. So I try to make sure that we put all those 8 laws together. Are there supplements? There are. Hawthornberry works very well. Who's heard of hawthornberry? But remember, hawthornberry has a half-life of 4 hours. And so you want to take it 4 times a day. Hawthornberry actually works like 3 different types of blood pressure medicine, physiologically. Another one that can work is hibiscus flower, a hibiscus flower tea that can work for hypertension. Picking mango leaves can work for hypertension. There's a lot of things you can take a look at. French grape seed. But the key is not to address trying to give something. People want a healthy pill. The issue is if you can take that sandpaper and go away. Now, what about nutrition? Dr. Walter Kempner at Duke University. Anybody ever heard of Duke University? Dr. Walter Kempner, he was a German physician, genius guy, and he put a program together for malignant hypertension. Malignant hypertension. We don't hear about malignant hypertension anymore. If you got it, you died. And so he put a program together for it, and it was very basic. It had 4 items. 4 items. He actually found not only does it work for reversing hypertension, but it works for type 2 diabetes. It actually helps with type 1 diabetes even. It doesn't reverse it, but it helps. We get over a 98% reversal rate of type 2 diabetes by using Kempner's program. It's great for cardiovascular disease. It's great for weight loss. It's great for cognitive function. And here's what it is. It's real simple. For breakfast, let me show it to you. I'm a visual kind of guy. So this is breakfast. Does that look like something you could eat for breakfast? That's brown rice. It's got some scallions, some chopped up it's got turmeric, scallions, and cilantro, chopped up cilantro. And you can just do plain brown rice. Kempner did brown rice, just plain. It's an excellent protein. It's the brown rice husk, or the bran, like wheat bran. Brown rice has bran. The brown rice bran is really good for cardiac function. And then your fruit around it. And so breakfast is like going to a fruit bar. And this program was $13,000 at Duke University. No insurance, private pay. $13,000 for the first visit going there. And $6,500 for each subsequent visit. And so this is what you ate for breakfast when you went to Duke. The brown rice and the fruit. The noon meal was a huge salad. So it's like going to a salad bar. And you've got broccoli, cauliflower, cucumbers, just a nice big old vegetable salad, big vegetable salad. But on there is no oil. Y'all say oil or oil here? Oil. Okay, we say oil. No oil, no dressing, no cheese, and no meat. Now, this is Duke University. I came off a dairy farm. We loved our cheese, but no oil, no dressing, no meat, no cheese. Kempner would put lemon juice, or you could put some salsa, a low-sodium salsa. And then the cup of brown rice, and the brown rice was the protein. Now, you notice it says dinner. Do y'all say breakfast, dinner, and supper here? Does anybody say breakfast, dinner, and supper? Okay. I don't live here, but anyway. Okay. So the noon meal, dinner, and then he did nothing for supper. Nothing at all. Well, you could do, like say, breakfast again for supper. But to be really effective is just to do breakfast and dinner. Why? If you don't eat breakfast within 2 hours of awakening, you increase your risk of a cardiovascular event by 150%. Actually, if you don't eat breakfast within an hour of awakening, you increase your risk of a cardiovascular event by 30%. But go to 2 hours, now you're increasing your risk for a cardiovascular event by 150%. That's a stroke or heart attack. It affects the platelets. And so you got to eat that breakfast. And also when you eat breakfast, it increases metabolism and you burn calories. When you eat the noon meal, it increases metabolism and you burn calories. But Dr. Koop, who is the world's best in metabolism, he found around 3 o'clock in the afternoon, your metabolism starts shutting off. God is turning your metabolism off around 3 in the afternoon. And when you eat after 3, then what do? You're not burning up those calories, and you're more prone to put on weight. Also, they found around 2:30 in the afternoon, anybody know what mitochondria is? The mitochondria is the powerhouse in the cells. And when we eat after the 2:30 in the afternoon, which is right around that 3 o'clock time, the mitochondria changes. And actually, they say that you can even tell under the microscope a person who eats after 2 and a person who doesn't eat after 2. And actually, the mitochondria, which is huge in transferring cancer, you don't have that transfer of cancer as effective either if you don't eat after 2:30 in the afternoon. And the mitochondria is just so important for just many, many things in our body. And so we find it is best just to eat breakfast and eat the noon meal by 3 o'clock. That's number one. Number two that Kempner found was water. And adequate water is huge. Now, University of California at Davis found that it takes a half a gallon of water, 2 quarts, 4 water bottles for a 5-year-old. A half a gallon for a 5-year-old, up to 128 pounds. Over 128 pounds, it is body weight divided by 2, that many ounces of water to sit on the couch. So let's say you're a 25, 24-pound female and you're in good shape, and it's not just a half a gallon. It's a half a gallon to sit on the couch. But if you exercise, you need more than, or work in the garden, you need more than. And, need another pint, quart, whatever. The state of Tennessee tells me that I'm to drink a gallon of water a day. Does anybody know why? The heat's a big part of it. Anybody know me well enough to know why Tennessee tells me I'm supposed to drink a gallon of water a day? Pardon? I'm a firefighter. That's right. I'm a firefighter. And so the Tennessee State Fire Academy says that every firefighter in the state of Tennessee is to drink a gallon of water a day at least. We have a fire in rehab or wildland, if we're out searching for someone, wildland fire or searching. In rehab, we're even drinking more water. So Kempner at Duke University found that we needed that water. So if we're over 128 pounds, how much are we to drink? Pardon? Body weight divided by 2, that many ounces to sit on the couch. So if I weigh 200 pounds, I need to drink how many ounces? But that's to sit on the couch. If I'm active, I need more than that. I'm working in a garden. I'm mowing the yard. I'm a firefighter. Whatever it is, I work in construction. So you need more than that amount. But then there's a guy, he was friends with Einstein, and he found that when you drink water, if you drink more than 2 to 3 ounces of water at a given time, let me show you something here. I like visual. So here's somebody's water. Half of this is how many ounces? 8 ounces. So is that easy to drink? Just drink half of this at one time? Absolutely. If you drink 8 ounces of water, you can only count 2 to 3 ounces because 5 to 6 is going to free flow to the kidneys and you're going to urinate it off because of free flow. So we can only absorb 2 to 3 ounces. So he said we need to kind of sip on water about 4 different times every half hour. It's kind of like pouring a 5-gallon bucket on a tomato plant. It's going to run off versus a drip line, it's going to soak in. So we need to just about 4 times every half hour drink. But this guy, again, friends with Einstein, said 15 minutes before you eat, while you eat, and an hour after you eat, don't drink near a thing. Have we been told that before? There's a lot of physiology there on why we don't do that. So water is important. The next thing that he found was exercise. Now, Kempner looked at little humans and big humans. And he found that little humans exercise 4 times a day. They have recess in the morning. They have PE in the morning. They have recess in the afternoon. And then they go home and play. Y'all remember that? Did we do that? We did. Kids don't do it today in schools, but unless you're homeschooled. But in the public school system, they're not doing that unless you're in competitive sports. But we did. We had PE, we had recesses, and then we went home and played and had chores. So Kempner at Duke University started doing that to his big humans, his adults. He's having them exercise 4 times a day. Now you can start out with just 5 minutes 4 times a day, and then work up to 10 minutes 4 times a day. And then as you can, work up to 15 minutes 4 times a day. The goal is let's get up to 20 minutes 4 times a day. Now, I know in the state of Tennessee, I don't know what it is here for plain people, but in the state of Tennessee, the average person in Tennessee was getting around 3,000 steps a day at the most, less than 4,000 steps. Plain people, the men were getting at least 1800, was it 1,800? 18,000? 1,800. The women were getting around 8 to 12. No, 1,000. It's 1,000. Because, 8,000. Exercise is important. Walking is important. Cardiovascular exercise. I used to have nurses tell me, I'm pushing the med cart. I'm getting exercise. I didn't exercise. You need cardio. Better yet, get that HIIT training, high intensity training. So Kempner found if he exercised 4 times a day, significantly improved hypertension, significantly improved cardiovascular disease, significantly improved diabetes. Loma Linda Medical School found that a 20-minute power walk, Loma Linda Medical School found that a 20-minute power walk lowers the blood sugar more than 1 shot of insulin. So now Kempner's exercising 4 times a day. That's like 4 shots of insulin. Which would you rather have? I'd rather exercise 4 times a day. And so exercise is huge. The next thing Kempner did, any of this sounding familiar? Anything sound familiar? The rocks are crying out, y'all. Science is validating. Is not that, God needs validated. But number 4 is being asleep by 9 o'clock at night. Kempner had his folks abed, asleep. Now, do you know what year Kempner did this? Started this program? 1933. 1933. Kempner was German. He was kicked out of Germany by his parents. How would you like being kicked out of your country by your parents? They said, get out of here now. He thought some kind of crazy stuff was going on, but it'd blow over. Kempner was Jewish. It didn't blow over, and Kempner, his parents saved his life, telling him to get out of there. He came to America and went to work at Duke University, and he worked at Duke University his whole career. And that program is significant in reversing hypertension. And so as we look at that simple 4 items, I added a 5th one. What do you think I added? Trusting God. Yeah. Prayer. So as you look at addressing a health problem, you want to find the sandpaper. You want to remove the sandpaper. You want to apply then what you need. Any questions on hypertension? Yes. Potassium salt. And I know potassium's really good for hypertension. I'm not familiar with what potassium salt would be. Oh, they're using a salt. I don't know. Okay, I'm not familiar with it. I need to find out what it is. Potassium, I had a physician call me one time. He's a surgeon, good friend of mine. And he says, I got a buddy, another physician. He's having blood pressure problems. And he says, we know that low potassium is important. He says, what's really good in potassium I can give it? Well, how was he thinking? Allopathic. What was lowering his potassium? Stress. He needed to get to the root cause. And so I told him, you get rid of the stress, but yes, a great source of potassium is blackstrap molasses. And that's what he did. And he came off his blood pressure medicine. Now, we need a lot of potassium a day. And so great sources of potassium are what? Bananas. I had a banana for breakfast. Avocados. Cantaloupe. Okay. Sweet taters. Sweet potatoes are good. Oranges. Coconut water is excellent source of potassium. But blackstrap molasses is very good. Anybody ever had blackstrap molasses? Yeah. I mean, if I'm feeling kind of puny, I'll take a tablespoon of blackstrap molasses, and that'll perk me right up. Yes? Diet. A lot of people don't eat food that has, I have people come in to me with, and I'll do a history, and I'll ask them what they eat, and tell me, what fruit do you eat? And they'll tell me, I don't do fruit. No fruit, none. The only potatoes they'll do is what? French fries. Yeah. So they're not eating those. They're eating processed foods that just doesn't have the potassium, but stress is a big one. There can always be physiological issues, but the biggest issue is stress, and they're just not. They have a poor diet. And your potassium pills are 99 milligrams. That's nothing. You need 4,800, and that's 48 pills. And so a banana's going to have 400 or 500. Avocado's going to be 700 to 900. Coconut water 400 to 600 per cup. And so you're better to go that direction. Yes, ma'am. So you can get too much potassium, absolutely. And that's why the word temperance is making the right decisions. And I used to think years ago it was moderation in all things. And then I had kids. Is moderation in cocaine okay in your house? No. No. So it's moderation in the good stuff, total abstinence in the bad stuff. So you're exactly right. You have to have moderation. Absolutely. There actually is a diagnosis code or a diagnosis of dying from drinking too much water. You can throw your lights out, throw your electrolytes out. Absolutely. Yes, ma'am. Oh, now I know what you're talking about. Who was it said potassium? Now I do know it. Yes. Yes, I have. Yes, that does work well. It does. It now just clicked in, I remember. But yes, that is a product that I've used for folks, but it was years ago, and that was before we got into Celtic, before we got into Himalayan, and so we were recommending that instead of regular salt. And so I'm finding that people can, in moderation, tolerate the Celtic or the Himalayan and not have to have that potassium like we used to. But some people just might need that, yes. Any other questions on hypertension? Okay, the second question was, what was our second question? Anger. Is that a problem? Just go downtown. Get out in traffic. Oh, absolutely. Her statement is it can go back to childhood. Absolutely. So I have this lady that would come in Let me restate that. I had this lady that would come in. And this lady, have you ever seen people that if you even look at them sideways, they're going to blow up? I mean, this lady would get tore up so fast, it'd make your head swim. You didn't talk to this lady. I mean, you stayed away from this lady. You ever meet people like that? She just was ill. Last year, she comes in to see me with a health issue. Oh, boy, here she is. And the problem she had, I was doing some questions, and I said, what's your stress level? 0 to 10. Now, this lady would be like 999 or 1,000. And she said 0. I said, no. I said 0 means you ain't got never bit of stress. 10 means you got a lot of stress. And I didn't say you should be you're probably 1,000. And she goes, 0. People don't have 0. We're alive. There's just stress out there. And I said, how do you have 0? She said, not long ago, I found Jesus. She said, if I can't handle it, I just give it to him. Don't worry about it no more. It converted that lady significantly. It was a miracle for that lady. I mean, here's a lady, you just didn't have to look at her right, and she would explode. And now, if there's an issue, if you don't look at her right, she doesn't think, she just gives it to Jesus. Is that the answer? It should be for us too. So what can we do for anger? Well, the first thing, there's a surgeon that taught me many years ago. He said, Walt, you got to identify the organ or the system that's being affected. So if we look at anger, what organ or system is being affected? What is it? The brain. Yes, it's the brain. And then he says you have to identify the organ or systems that are secondary and tertiary that might affect the primary. So what organs or systems can affect cognitive function? What? The gut, absolutely. Absolutely. The gut's huge on the brain, the gut-brain relationship. What about cardiac? Can that affect the brain? Circulation? Sure. So you got to address the primary, the secondary, tertiary, whatever. And he then said you have to take away anything that may cause harm to them. And then you have to provide what they need. So what things can cause harm to the brain? What you put in front of your eyes? Sugar. Pardon? Spicy foods. That's going to affect definitely the gut, which then is going to affect the brain. Lack of oxygen. How do we get oxygen? How many of y'all breathe like a chihuahua? Or do you have diaphragmatic breathing like a little baby does? Absolutely. What else can affect oxygen? Exercise. Yeah, exercise is great for increasing oxygen. What else can affect brain function? Pardon? Sleep. So caffeine, yes. I'll come back to caffeine. So back several months ago, it was Friday night. I go to bed at a good time. And I'm teaching Sabbath school for one of the docs at church the next morning. It was a Friday night. Tones drop. I'd only been asleep for maybe, hour and a half, 2 hours. Not very long. Well, I'm the fire chief. I got guys can handle. I'm here right now. I'm not there. If there's a house fire right now, I'm not there. They can handle it. So I think, tones drop, it wakes me up, and I think, it's okay. It's Friday night. I got to teach Sabbath school in the morning. The guys got it. I'll go on back to sleep. And then dispatch says, there's a lady in the house, and we're not sure if she can get out. Now, does that change the situation? One of my neighbors in the house. I need to go. So I go to the fire. I got hour and a half, 2 hours sleep. The next morning, I come to Sabbath school, and my brain was tired. Oh, I was plumb tired. You know what plumb means? Yeah. And so I'm sitting there, and two seats over from me is a neurologist, Arvo Khanna, good friend of mine. And I said to the Sabbath school class right off, I said, guys, I just want to let you know my cognitive processing speed is not working well this morning. I didn't even say cognitive right. I was so tired. And told them what happened. So I start off, and Arvo can tell my function's not running like it should. And so finally, Arvo interrupts maybe 5 minutes into class. And I'm fighting to keep my brain running, trying to keep up with, the lesson. And Arvo goes, Walt, did you know that sleep deprivation has the exact symptoms of early onset dementia? It's like, thanks, Arvo. I mean, that's what my brain was running like. Can sleep deprivation affect brain function that can affect if we're more prone to get angry? Absolutely. Just try it with the kids. Don't get a good night's sleep and the kids not working good. Yeah, you're more prone to be short-tempered with them. Sally, get back in your room. Yeah. Nutrition, how we eat, what we're eating can affect. Are you fueling up? Like yesterday, I got on a plane. Yesterday was plumb messed up for me. I got stuck on an airplane for 2.5 hours on the runway in Knoxville. Sat inside for a long time. Atlanta airport shut down for an hour and a half yesterday because of weather. Plumb shut down. And then I get to Atlanta and I'm having to sit there for a long period of time. And so as we look at, boy, I plumb lost it on that one, didn't I? Where was I before I told you that? Yeah, lack of sleep, that one will do it. There's another issue. Pardon? No, there's another one. I apologize. Food? Yeah, okay. Food, yes, that was it. Thank you. So, did I want them to put fuel in the plane in Knoxville? Did I? Why? Yeah. So, did I want them to put fuel in Atlanta? Yes. Now, did I need to put fuel in it when I landed here in Ohio? No. We don't have to put fuel in to sleep. And so we need fuel to get through the morning. We need fuel to get through the afternoon. And if we eat within 4 hours of laying down, the food has a propensity to putrefy and ferment. Does that affect the brain function? Yeah, it does. It also affects how you sleep and nightmares and all kinds of stuff. So the nutrition that you get, exercise and those laws of health, definitely. So are you doing anything that can harm the brain? Are you giving the brain what it needs? Are you doing anything to harm digestion? Are you giving digestion what it needs? Are you doing anything to your cardiovascular? Are you giving it what it needs? Are there things that can help with anger? Prayer. That's a big one. It's a big one. There's a thing I do. You take, what was it? My wife called me the other day. She was down in Birmingham. And I said, she wanted my help on something. She was getting stressed on something. And I said, Mary Lou, get a piece of paper and draw a T. Take a piece of paper and draw a big old T. And then on this side you put controllable. On this side you put non-controllable. I have a lady, her son shot a state trooper. He went to prison. They told her he would be in prison the rest of his life. She'd never see him again. Would that be stressful, parents? I can't imagine. And so she'd come to me with all kinds of health issues because her brain was tore up all the time, grieving, couldn't see her son. He's in prison. And so the trooper shot him. He's still alive, and so he's missing an eye and all kind of just bad stuff. And I said, what you do is put your stressors here that you can control over here. And on non-controllable, you put over here, boys in prison. And then what you do is you take this piece of paper and you rip it plumb in half. And this one here, which says controllables, you lay down on the table. And this one here is non-controllable. You take it and you go in the closet or some quiet place and you sit down with God. And you say, God, there is ne'er a thing I can do to fix this. And you give it to him. Now, what's the problem? We want to take it back. Exactly, just like sins. You know, God says you ask for forgiveness, he'll throw it into the deepest of the ocean, and we get a submarine and go down there and try to get them again. You don't take it back. Let God have it. Because there is ne'er a thing, not a thing you can do to fix it. Can she get that boy out of prison? No. It's done. Pardon? Yes. Give it to God. Let him take care of it. But what happens? Satan goes, your boy's in prison, your boy's in prison, your boy's in prison. So I told her, you do this. You say, in Jesus' name, Satan, get thee behind me. In Jesus' name, Satan, get thee behind me. You say it until, I don't care if you say it 20, 30 minutes. It goes away, y'all. Satan cannot penetrate. And maybe Sabbath I can share you a really interesting story with that. And that's what she does. And it does not torment her. Does she still miss her son? Yes. But it doesn't torment her. And there's things that make us mad, make us angry. And if we can just start, we put it on that T-bar, give it to God. Because there's things that repeat over and over. And if there's never thing you can do about it, you give it to God. Because fretting on it ain't fixing it. Crying on it ain't going to fix it. Give it to him. Now, the things that you can do something about, the controllables, you pick it back up and go take God in hand and work on it. That's a huge one. That trust in giving it to him. Just like that lady who came in. Pardon? It is possible. If that woman could have done it or can do it and she is doing it, anybody can do it because that woman was tore up. And so it's possible. But we've got to do our part. We've got to get our sleep. We've got to have the hydration, the nutrition, the exercise, and what we need to do. Yes, B complex is great. Lithium orotate is great. Magnesium is great. Another really good tool out there that is good is saffron. Saffron works very, very well. So there are some herbal things that can benefit their nutrition, specialized nutrition. So those are things that I would do. Yes. Another concern. Pardon? Oral or gut? Gut dysbiosis. Okay. Let me go through I don't want to miss them. Hang on a sec. Oh, this one here. If anybody wants to contact with us, that's got our phone number and our address and our email and our website and our YouTube and all that. Okay. Gut microbiome. So common contributing causes. So you want to look at potential causes of what can cause it. We're going to look at potential effect on the body, lifestyle strategies, and botanical and nutritional support. And I won't go through all the definition and mechanism. Let me just get to the root causes here. Number one, ultra-processed foods. And we see a lot of challenges there today with ultra-processed foods. Give me some examples of ultra-processed foods that this culture... Anything in a can or box. Part? In a plastic bag. So what is the best food? Where do you get it? The best place. Out of your backyard. Yeah, because you know what soil is there, if you've amended the soil. You know what seeds. University of North Carolina Department of Agriculture found that there's a difference between heirloom seeds and hybrid seeds. And they found that hybrid seeds only uptake 40% of the nutrients out of the soil that heirloom seeds do. So when you stick a hybrid seed in the ground, you're only getting 40 cents on the dollar. That's significant. Let's see if this works. You know what you're spraying on top of it. Are so your own garden is the best. You know if it's vine ripe or not, or if it's picked the tomato when it's green. Another one is low dietary fiber. Does the gut need dietary fiber? Absolutely it does. How much fiber is in meat? How much fiber is in dairy? How much fiber is in processed foods? Little to zero. So where is the fiber? It's in a plant-based diet. A plant-based diet. Who's ever heard of the China study? Who's ever watched Forks Over Knives? Would you like a backstory? So I went to Cornell and I took nutrition from Dr. Campbell. And Campbell told us this in class. Cornell University. This is amazing. So he's from Southwest Virginia. We moved there when he was a boy and grew up there on a dairy farm and beef cattle farm. And that's what I did in East Tennessee. So Campbell grows up, goes through school, becomes the nutrition director over nutrition at Cornell University. Well, Campbell has this hypothesis that we need more dairy and we need more meat. So he wants to prove his hypothesis, and he gets Cambridge University, and he gets one other university to go with him. And he gets the support of the dairy industry and the beef industry, and they do a research. And what does he find? Just the opposite. 100% opposite. So first of all, he tells us he really needs his hypothesis to be proven. So does he play with the numbers? He admits this in class. The chairman of the nutrition department at Cornell University admits to his students he himself thinks of playing with the numbers. That was amazing. But what he says next, never would you have thought you heard at Cornell University. He said he could hear his father's voice. Now, his father was dead, but he could hear his father's voice in his mind. Can you still hear your grandma say, "Don't do that"? Yeah. Don't walk on the floor. If you walk on a wet floor, you're going to get a whooping. Yeah. He could hear his father's voice in his mind saying, "Colin, never lie. Colin, never lie." And he told us that. That changed the story. And he printed the China study as it truly was. The word plant-based. Who coined plant-based? T. Colin Campbell. And it's amazing. And we learn the importance of fiber. We learn the importance of non-processed foods. And it's not just whole food, plant-based. See, yes?
Oh, okay. Is it on? Hybrid versus heirloom. I'm trying to transition into organic, which is corn, beans, whatever. So
Right.
Does the organic equal heirloom?
So you can do organic with either of those two. That's just two types of seeds. Organic means how do you treat the soil, how do you treat the plant. So you can treat hybrid and heirloom. You can use heirloom and be non-organic. That just means the seed is heirloom. Now, you want something also interesting? In 1902 or 1903, America was looking at how foods were not having proper, they would just rot, and they did not have good shelf life. And so they started spraying it with a byproduct of pharmaceutical products to give it longer shelf life. And then they found they could change and go from heirloom to hybrid, and they could hybridize out the chemicals in it that were causing it to rot faster. Well, guess what we found back several years ago? They were hybridizing out amylase, protease, and lipase. It was not rotting, it was digesting. And God did not plan on us taking and putting food up. He did not plan on us picking it and then eating it several days later. It was to pick it and eat it right then. Correct? In the Garden of Eden. And so what happened is God put digestive enzymes, amylase, protease, and lipase, in the heirloom seed, in those foods. And when we hybridize it, we don't have those enzymes like we need. And it actually, nutrition is now finding that it's overworking the organs that produce the digestive enzymes and tax them. And we actually aren't getting enough digestive enzymes. And so by taking digestive enzymes, it can be beneficial if you're eating hybrid food versus heirloom food. So the organic just means what they're putting on them, fertilizers and sprays. Frequent antibiotic use. What does antibiotics do? Biotic means life, anti-life, and it's going to kill the gut. Who has a septic system? Anybody ever had a septic system? What happens if you pour Clorox bleach down in the septic system? It kills it. It kills the good bacteria. So you're going to need to pump it out and then put good bacteria in again. So when we take an antibiotic, it's killing that good bacteria in our gut, and we can't pump it out, but we can put probiotics in there. Okay? In your septic tank. Yes, and that gets it going again. Yes. So we do that by putting probiotics back in us. But frequent antibiotic use, chronic psychological stress. Anybody have that? Yeah. Inadequate sleep. These are root causes. Environmental toxins. Excessive dietary sugar, processed sugar. Artificial sweeteners. Alcohol consumption. You've got your sugar there. Cigarette smoking, tobacco use. Cesarean birth. What's the problem with cesarean births, and how does that affect gut biome? So as the baby goes through the birth canal, it is getting the word I'm looking for, chemicals from the mother, flora, that birth canal flora that gets into the eyes, gets in the nose, gets in the mouth, especially into the mouth of that baby as it goes through the birth canal. That can affect gut biome. And when they do a C-section, then they're not getting that. So what can happen is usually the medical staff won't do it, but they're familiar with it. They can allow the father to use, say, a 4x4 to be able to acquire that. And then when they take the baby, they can rub it on the baby's face and on the baby to try to get that flora from the birth canal. Lack of breastfeeding during infancy. In 1969, Tennessee was the fourth healthiest state in the United States. In 1969, in 2009, Tennessee was the fourth unhealthiest state. We went from the fourth healthiest to the fourth unhealthiest. Number one reason was the food. Number two was what we were drinking. Number three was the lack of exercise. Number four was the lack of breastfeeding. Breastfeeding is essential for gut health, for bone health, for the immune system, for bonding. And if you have anybody that adopts, call my wife, and she can help them possibly be able to breastfeed that child. We have ladies come into us that adopt, and Mary Lou works with them, and they're able to start breastfeeding. We have ladies come in that don't have enough volume, and we're able to help them have enough volume. We had a physician one time come in, and he's concerned. He's a physician. He knows the importance of breast milk, and his wife just was not able to produce enough, and so Mary Lou helped him, and she became a Holstein. I mean, she was putting out, and they had to cut back because she was putting out so much. It's kind of funny. How many of y'all grew up on dairy farms? Or how many of y'all done dairy farming? Okay, y'all understand this. So when Walter was born, Mary Lou's, back then we didn't understand. We did hospital birth, and so my dad came and saw my firstborn, and he said, "Son, just treat her like a cow." My wife, that is. And I knew what he was talking about because we needed enough breast milk. And he said, just treat her like a cow. Well, what are three major important things for enough milk? Water, nutrition, and keep them calm. Dad did a study one time in the dairy parlor. He tried milk. Farmers are always trying something to improve money. You don't make a lot of money dairying. And so he wondered, what would music do? So this is in the early 60s. So Dad played Hank Williams Sr. Milk production went down. They didn't like Hank Williams Sr. Then he tried gospel music. Well, it did better. And then there's this new guy out, and he played his music. And this guy's name was Elvis Presley. Worst production of milk that day we'd ever had. It tore them cows up. And then Dad tried elevator music. Y'all know what elevator music is? Classical music, calm classical music. Had the best milking we had. From that point forward, it was elevator music, always in the dairy. No dogs barking, no people hollering. Keep them cows calm. And so Dad said, keep her calm. And he said, the milk will drop. And it's works that way, a cow and a woman, And so nutrition, water, keep them calm. But breastfeeding is huge. Even as we get into even adult years, we're finding breastfeeding affects things even into our adult lives. Aging, as we get older, just happens. Chronic gastrointestinal infections, medications that alter gut microbiome, physical inactivity. You got to move. Chronic constipation and delayed intestinal transit time. It's got to move. You need a transit time at least 24 hours. It's like a clock. If you eat 3 meals a day, this is breakfast, this is supper last night, and this is dinner yesterday, the noon meal. If you eat 2 meals a day, this is breakfast, and this was dinner yesterday. And then as we eat dinner today, it's going to swap, and it just turns like a clock. And we need a transit time of at least, I'll say 24 hours. The average transit time in America runs around 72 hours. You're more prone to cancer. You're more prone to gut biome issues. And how do we increase that transit time? Adequate water, adequate exercise, eating at the same time every day actually can improve transit time. Look at when we were kids. You go to your grandma's house. Was breakfast, dinner, and supper at the same time every day? On time. If you tried to eat something between meals, she'd slap your hand and say, boy, it's going to ruin your meal. That's what happened. Today, I have people come in, how many meals a day do you eat? I only eat just one meal a day. What time do you eat? All day. They graze like a cow all day long. That is not healthy on the gut. Another thing that affects the transit time is school teachers have a huge issue with this. When we were kids, she'd just say, Johnny, you be the monitor. I'll be back in a minute. Well, we knew where she went, but she didn't say, I'm going to the bathroom. Johnny was the monitor. Can you do that today? No, you got to have an adult there. So she has to wait until she can get some adult to relieve her. You get someone driving a tractor trailer. They got 150 more miles before they need to fill up, and they need to be efficient. And so they'll just hold on another 150 miles. So the brain is telling the sensation that's not important. And your brain then starts ignoring the sensation until it really gets bad. Well, by going when you need to every time, first time you feel that sensation, say, excuse me, I got something I need to do. I'll be back in a minute. Well, you know what you need to do. And that then retrains the brain what that sensation is in the early stages, and that's going to improve the transit time. Food additives and emulsifiers, nutrient deficiencies, and lack of dietary variety. Now, is it okay? Are we good if we just do a plant-based diet? Fruit Loops are plant-based. Oreos are plant-based. But are they whole food? They're not whole food. But Campbell was very, very strong on this at Cornell. But now we're seeing Harvard preaching this very, very strong. We see Mayo Clinic speaking this very hard, and that is with variety. We're not dog food. It's not same-o, same-o. We need a variety. How did your grandmas know if it was nutritious? Color. There's various color on the plate. Keep it colorful, various nutrients in the different colors. And you just don't eat the same food all the time. You need to rotate food. We actually have a higher variety of food when we're plant-based than I see people who come in and I ask them what they eat. Pizza. What else do you eat? Hamburgers. What else do you eat? Pizza. Fat. They're just eating junk, and they don't have a huge variety. But those of us that eat plant-based, we got a huge variety. We need variety. Potential effects on the body: leaky gut, chronic systemic inflammation, immune dysregulation, autoimmune diseases, and this is gut dysbiome or gut dysbiosis, not having good microbiome. Autoimmune diseases, obesity, outside ideal body weight. And people say, well, what's obese? I had a guy came in this week. He was 350 pounds. He says, I do need to lose a little weight. And so I got the BMI. I didn't get percent body fat, and I just make it easy. I get a Mayo University, Mayo Clinic chart with BMI, and I said, how tall are you? 6 foot. He's over here, and he needs to be here. And he looked at it, and he goes, and this is the typical comment I get out of men. I ain't weighed that since I was in high school. How tall were you when you were in high school? 6 foot. Go back to your senior class picture that was in the newspaper. In your mind, were people ideal body weight? No. Back then they were. Look at somebody from the 60s, 70s. No? No, I was overweight. A lot of folks were in body weight back then. Yeah. Look at it today. It's much larger today. Yes, one guy came in one day and he says, I told my doctor about it, and he said, you need to lose weight. And he says, well, all my friends, everybody else I looks like me. And the doctor told him, well, maybe you need to change who you look at. It is a law of the mind that it gradually adapts itself upon the subject of which it is trained to dwell. Type 2 diabetes and insulin resistance, which is type 2. cardiovascular disease. These are effects on the body. So if you have gut problems, dysbiosis, it can cause type 2 diabetes. It can cause cardiovascular disease. So if you have diabetes, you also need to look, do you have problems with dysbiosis? And we just learned, here it says cardiovascular disease, and we learned November 1st of last year from Harvard that now a major cause that they have found of high blood pressure is what? Dysbiosis, gut dysbiosis. It means it's just not working right. Non-alcoholic fatty liver, and we're seeing a lot of that today. Just because you have fatty liver doesn't mean you drink. IBS, inflammatory bowel disease, depression. In March of 20, the WHO published that soon depression would be the number one diagnosis in America. What happened in America in March of 20? COVID. Well, stress, anxiety just went. Well, that's kind of slowed down. And in WHO, World Health Organization, again has said, it's a turtle. And it's about to catch up, and soon will be the number one diagnosis in America, depression. Anxiety, cognitive decline, Alzheimer's disease. So when a person has Alzheimer's disease, a major contributing factor could be gut dysbiosis. Parkinson's disease, reduced nutritional absorption, food sensitivities and food intolerance. So you could have allergies due to just gut dysbiosis. If you have tongue issues, sores on your tongues, and the majority of time, a tongue issue, a mouth issue, yes, you can have a cold sore, but many times mouth issues are gut issues. Fix the gut, that mouth issue goes away. Increased susceptibility into infections. So if your gut's not working right, what did we learn during COVID? What percentage of the gut function affects immune system? Or what percent of immune system is affected by the gut? 75%. 75% of your immune function is based on gut function. Increased risk of certain cancers. Reduced quality of life. If your gut is not happy, you're not happy. It's kind of like if mama ain't happy, the rest of the family ain't happy. So what are lifestyle changes? What can you do from a lifestyle standpoint for microbiome? Consume a whole food, plant-based diet with variety. At Cornell, this blew me away. We learned at Cornell University out of the China study that dairy is the most significant chemical carcinogen ever discovered. Dairy is the most significant chemical carcinogen ever discovered. My family for generations. Yes. I don't think it was as bad, definitely. It was always in effect, because Campbell answered that question, and he said it did not matter it was the old raw or if it was pasteurized or what. But I tell you, dairy is different today. It is different. I like cows. I like cows, and so when I can go hug, I enjoyed hugging on the goats this morning, but. I had a farmer come in, a dairy farmer and his wife come in not long ago, and we're talking cows, and I asked him about his cows, what kind of cows he had, and he said, I ain't got no bull. And I said, well, we did AI, artificial insemination. He says, I don't do AI. How do you have calves? He goes, I don't have calves. Well, how do you have milk? He goes, I just take a heifer and pump her full of hormones for 2 years and beef her out. Now, our cows, we got about 2.25 gallons a day out of our cows. We usually had about 70, we averaged about 70-something, 80-something fresh. I went to a dairy farm recently in California. There was over 2,000 head. That's a big dairy farm. Can you imagine milking electricity going out on that? Not one of those 2,000 cows had ever had a blade of grass in its mouth. They were getting over 20-some gallons of milk a day off them cows. Good 20 gallons a day. And the dairyman told me they are not cows. He says they are not cows. They're milk machines. And I treat them as milk machines. So who knows what he's putting in that people are eating and drinking from that dairy? Oh, yeah, it's a computer. He had a turntable you could put 60 cows on. The dairy ran 24 hours a day. Crazy. Yeah. Absolutely. Okay. Consume a wide variety of plant foods. Increase dairy fiber intake. Engage in regular physical activity. Exercise helps improve microbiome, the gut function. Obtain restorative sleep. And that's interesting, the word restorative, not just sleep, but it's restorative sleep. So that's good sleep. Effective management of stress. Drink adequate water. Now, wait a minute. I didn't think you're supposed to drink when you eat. You're not. But did you know that when you drink between meals, that water actually goes through the mucosa and it helps with the digestive system, but we don't want to drink 15 minutes before, during, and depending on who you talk to, 1 to 2 hours after the meal. Obtain appropriate sunshine. Spend time outdoors in fresh air. Avoid tobacco products. Avoid alcohol consumption. Minimize ultra-processed foods. Include naturally fermented foods when appropriate. What are kind of foods you think of there? Sauerkraut. Yeah. Avoid unnecessary antibiotic use. Can we use natural antibiotics? Are they effective? I have a product that I get out of England. It's called Allicin. It's called Alimed. It's the strongest allicin in the world and the most stabilized, and it blows the doors off vancomycin. Physicians buy it from me from Australia to Africa, and then it works better than vancomycin on MRSA. Even we've used it on vancomycin-resistant MRSA. My son had Lyme disease. He's now been 14 years, no Lyme. God has given us, and it takes 24 cloves of garlic to make one drop of this. 24 cloves of garlic to make 1 drop of this allicin. Very, very strong. How about golden seal? Anybody ever use golden seal? Echinacea, colloidal silver. God has given us so many natural antibiotics that are extremely powerful. Maintain a healthy body weight. Practice good oral hygiene. Spend time in nature. What does nature have to do with it? Yeah, calms you down, doesn't it? Avoid unnecessary antimicrobial chemicals. Antimicrobial chemicals. What kind of antimicrobial chemicals do we use? Soap. Yeah. You know, we tell our staff, I would tell my staff, when you come in, before you see a patient, after you see a patient, before you put eye drops in, after you put eye drops in, before you eat, after you eat, before you go to the bathroom, after you go to the bathroom. I mean, you know, it was many times they were washing their hands. And yes, we do need to wash our hands. But can we wash our hands too much? Or can we use too much of the antimicrobial chemicals? Yeah. I remember as a boy, my brother and I, we did well. My sister is sick as a dog. Always sick. always sick. And one time I was sitting there and the pediatrician, I must have been probably 8 years old, 9 at the most. And the pediatrician asked my mom, she says, do you ever let her play with the boys? He'd look at her. I mean, she was dressed up like she was on some doll cabinet. And she says, no. He goes, get her down there and have her play with the boys, eat after the boys. She wasn't sick anymore. You got to get out there and get a little dirt on you. Develop strong social relationships. Can loneliness affect your health? Absolutely. You can die faster when you're lonely. Live in harmony with God's design. Very important. What are some botanical and nutritional support? Prebiotic fiber. Probiotics. See, prebiotics feed the probiotics. L-glutamine is very, very good for the gut function. Omega-3 fatty acids. What are some examples of omega-3 fatty acids? Walnuts, chia, flax. Now, what's the problem with flaxseed? Oxidizes within 15 minutes. So you got to eat it within 15 minutes. So if you cook it in your food, yes, it's a good fiber, which will help here, but you're not going to get the omega-3s. Yes. Marshmallow root. Anybody ever use marshmallow roots? Is that the marshmallow root or marshmallow we put on the fire? No. Marshmallow root is phenomenal for the intestinal skin. You can, yes. So you can put it in some water, stir it up, and drink it. Say a teaspoon twice a day. You can put it in capsules. If you're wanting to, let's say you have a person that's having esophageal issues, then you don't want to put it in capsules because it's not going to open until the stomach. But if you're having esophageal issues and you want marshmallow root to help heal that tissue, like slippery elm, marshmallow root, aloe vera, it's got to be open to address it. And so you can stir it up in a glass of water and just sip on it. Licorice root, anybody ever use licorice root? Who likes licorice root? I don't. My wife loves it. She says it tastes good. Everybody's got different tongues. To me, it tastes like roots, at some tree root or something. But it's tremendous for gut, fixing the gut. Slippery elm. Slippery elm is food, y'all. I was talking to a Cherokee one time, and I like talking to Indians. Just a week ago, I was out in Arizona, and I spoke with several several Navajos, and learned a good bit from them. They got a lot of good information if you listen, and if they trust you. And this Navajo told me, this Cherokee told me, he said when they would go years ago from village to village and they didn't have food, they'd just bark an elm tree and eat the inner bark. I go, wait a minute, I remember that back in elementary school in history. Remember when Washington was socked in for 2 weeks with a snowstorm? Do y'all remember that on the Potomac? Yeah. What did they eat? Slippery elm. I'd forgotten that. And so it's just a food, but it's very, very good for gastrointestinal issues. It's my favorite for a sore throat. If I get a sore throat talking, I've got slippery elm lozenges I can suck on while I'm speaking because it's just so good. Zinc. Zinc is very important. Zinc is good for the immune system. Men have a propensity to lose zinc more than women. But zinc is important for thyroid. But it's also good for gut. It's important for gut bone. But here's the problem. During COVID, people were taking mega doses of zinc. We had a doctor over in Sevierville near Gatlinburg that was prescribing over 200 milligrams of zinc a day. Well, that's okay, but what do you have to give along with that amount? Copper. You're right. It depletes copper. And so if you're taking over 30 milligrams of copper, you need to take 2-3 milligrams of copper because you're going to lose that copper. If you have high copper, how do you get rid of high copper? Take a lot of zinc and it'll pull it back down. Vitamin D. Now here's the thing on vitamin D. It is not how much vitamin D you take a day. It is what is your blood level. I had a lady come in. She's Caucasian. Does that matter? Does that make a difference? I go. Who knows Dr. Irvin Davis? He's a black physician down in Georgia. I go to Rwanda, and we teach the physicians there. And Irvin was telling the black docs there last time I went, he said, we have sunglasses on our skin. He says it takes 6 times more exposure for us to get the same amount of vitamin D as it does Walt. The darker the pigmentation, the more time you have to spend outside in the sun. This lady's Caucasian. She works in landscaping year-round, out in the sun all day long, all year long. She's taking 5,000 IUs of vitamin D a day. Her blood level is 12. Now, the lab will tell you 30 to 60. Now, neurologists will tell you anything less than 60, remember this, anything less than 60 affects cognitive function. So you do not want a vitamin D blood level less than 60 for cognitive function. People say, well, I just can't remember things anymore. Well, what's your vitamin D level? I don't know. Figure it out. Find out. Well, I take vitamin D. No, what's your blood level? Now, they're now telling us actually like for immune system, for bone density, for ladies as you get older, you want between 80 and 100. If you got cancer, 100. There's a doctor in Atlanta, she'd send you up to 205 to fight the cancer. Anything over 130, you can have kidney stones. It's rare, but you can have them. Her philosophy was it's a lot easier to fix kidney stones than it is stage 4 cancer. But for us that don't have cancer, stay in that 80, 90, 100. So we pushed this gal. So I went 10,000 for 3 months. She only went up to 17. So we went to 40,000 a day for 3 months. She only went to 24. Then we went magnesium to bowel tolerance. She went to 97. See, you've got to have adequate magnesium to metabolize the vitamin D. You have to have adequate boron to metabolize the vitamin D. And if your vitamin A is too high because you take a lot of vitamin A, even though you have a 97 vitamin D, it's not going to work right because you have too much A and it won't let it work right. Our body is an amazing, was it David? What did he say? Yes, fearfully and wonderfully made. And so just taking vitamin D is not enough. You want to know what is that blood level.
What about vitamin K?
Okay, good question. So K, you don't need K to absorb the vitamin, to metabolize the vitamin D. Vitamin K is going to help the vitamin D do what it needs to do in the body. So yes, you need vitamin K, but the problem is people link them together, and it hog ties you because you're only allowed to use so much vitamin D. See, you only want no more than 300 of K, and let's say that's 1,000 D and 100 K. Then how much D can you take? No more than 3,000. Because if you take more than 3,000, you're taking more K than what you need. So if you know and you got a real easy system and you can put them together, that's fine. But if you need to boost your D, separate them. Take your D separate, do what it needs to do to get it up there, and take your K separate. Because you don't want more. Pardon? Okay, you've got D2 and D3. That D2 is plant-based. D3 can either be plant-based or animal-based. And the K2 or MK7 is that's separate. That's a total different item. Yeah. So you need to know what your blood level. Butyrate, curcumin is phenomenal. It's an anti-inflammatory. Quercetin, aloe vera. That's one of my favorite for the gut to run. Aloe vera it's a food, works great. But be careful just taking your aloe vera plant, unless you're from Mexico. Who's from the Caribbean? Leave them alone because they know what they're doing. Because they know which aloe vera plant they can eat. Some aloe vera plants have a chemical in it that's actually an irritant to the gut. So don't just go out there eating your aloe vera plant, because that variety may have a chemical in it that hurts your gut. Yes, ma'am. Pardon? Yeah. So curcumin, yes. Same as turmeric, yes. It's the chemical in turmeric that's doing the job. So turmeric, yes. It's good for us, yes. So some people will say you have to mix what? Pepper. Well, who's ever heard of a company called Terry Naturally? Terry Naturally is an excellent company. Anything you take for the first time, if it doesn't work, just take it back and get your money back. It's a great company. Well, Terry, who owns the company, Terry Naturally, Terry found that if he uses turmeric essential oil and binds it with the curcumin, that it does the same thing that the black pepper does. And you don't have to have the black pepper. And black pepper is an irritant to the gut. I'm terrible at this name. It's y'all familiar with that one? Tell me about it. Say it for me. Okay. It's very good. Mm-hmm.
They recommend that probiotic because it helps. I think it's for the fungus.
Okay.
When there's been.
There you go.
Yeah.
You know, say it again so the folks on the internet here.
I think it's Saccharomyces boulardii.
Okay. I believe you're yes.
And it's I know it's used when a person has had doses of antibiotics, because it will affect the amount of fungus in your body, so to give it back that balance.
Okay.
So it's prescribed.
Okay. And there's a comment up here.
Repeat what you just said about Terry Naturally. Can you repeat that?
On the Terry Naturally. So Terry Naturally, it's a company, and the man who owns the company found that where people think that you have to have the black pepper to make the curcumin, which is the chemical in the turmeric, like allicin in garlic or bromelain in pineapple. The curcumin to work accurately, to activate it, you have to have black pepper. Well, it's true, it does. But he found that if you add turmeric essential oil to it, that it will do the same thing, and you don't have to have the black pepper to activate the curcumin.
So you just be taking the turmeric, but use the essential oil.
Correct. Digestive enzymes, we talked about that earlier. Magnesium. Magnesium is huge, y'all. There's a hospital in Chattanooga. The top physician there is a friend of mine, and he recently called me and he says, Walt, he said, I was noticing that all of our admissions to the hospital are low in magnesium and low in potassium. So I made a standing order that all admissions had to have a magnesium and a potassium. He said 90 to 95% of all admissions to this hospital are deficient in magnesium and potassium. Now, when you measure magnesium, we've learned that the way we used to measure magnesium is not as accurate, and it's a mag serum, and that's taken out of the blood serum. Now we've learned, because it's not stable in the serum, we're finding that only 1.5 to 2% of your magnesium is in the serum, and it's not an actual proper ratio. The RBC, the red blood cells, carry the majority of the magnesium, and it's more accurate to do an RBC magnesium. That's a red blood cell magnesium, is much more accurate than doing a serum magnesium. And more of the aggressive hospitals now are doing the RBC magnesiums. We're about to see that to change, possibly with vitamin B12. There's research being done in Europe and in California. And the lab guys will tell you that the B12 is not stable in the serum, and so they're going to be looking at another way of measuring the B12. Polyphenol-rich foods and botanical extracts, ginger. You look at Chinese medicine, the natural Chinese medicine. there's hardly a protocol that doesn't use ginger. Ginger is just super, super nutritious for us. It's antiviral. It's anti-inflammatory. It's just really, really powerful. Boswellia. What is Boswellia? Yes, that's right. And that's why Terry Naturally uses it with its curcumin in its product called Curcumin. It uses Boswellia for pain. But it's what? Frankincense. When in doubt, use frankincense. Yeah, frankincense is a great product. Boswellia is frankincense. Diverse whole food, plant-based nutrition with variety. And so that's, some of the things that you can do for gut biome. It's 11:55. I asked how long we go. They said we can go as long as y'all want to go. Dinner's at 1. Keep going? Okay, if you don't want to, just go on, get up, and take a walk. What do you want? Yes, the next item. Back up? Okay, sure. Let me go back to, on you want how to, on the botanical ones? About what? Oh, causes. Okay, let's go back to causes. This is where we started. Mm-hmm. Okay. You got that one? Okay. Okay, do I need back up? Okay, where do you need it next? Pardon? Oh, gut dysbiosis. Gut dysbiosis. Which ones? Okay. Reduced quality of life. Yes, ma'am.
I had a question regarding fermentation.
Yes.
So I know there's a school of thought that any degree or any type of fermentation is not good.
Yeah.
But then there are people that say it is good. So could you help me out? What can I do?
You wanted to bring that stick in, didn't you?
I'm sorry.
Stir that pot.
I'm sorry.
That's a good question. And we know what inspiration says about the issue. And that's one I still am not settled in. Because I'm not going to argue with God. And just because I can't understand physiologically doesn't mean that God's wrong. So that's where I am on that one. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Yes.
I hear you with that as well. I've struggled also, and I'm still praying about it. One thing I found is like with sourdough bread is that when it's sour is when it's gone too far. Mm-hmm. And so I was doing a lot of research, and it seemed like, and you still have to be careful, it's chemistry, right? So you've got to figure out the chemistry. But about 8 hours was when I could get it to, if you will, ferment appropriately before it started turning sour and bad. Mm-hmm. And that would go wrong. And I'm finding that's even true with like sauerkraut, cabbage, that kind of stuff. And with like the sauerkraut, I have someone else who says, oh, just put lemon juice in there and that will help keep it with like some salt. It'll keep it from having the bad bacteria. I don't know if that's true, but for sure, I've noticed there's a difference. And also with the sourdough like starter, once it has nothing to feed on, it'll start decomposing. And that's when we are in trouble, is when it starts decomposing, from what I understand.
Okay. Yes, sir.
This might be a strange question. It's kind of sideways, but are you familiar with orthorexia?
Let me come back. I can come back to that other question, and I'll come back. As I work with health issues, diabetes, that's easy, simple. I mean, it's easier to reverse type 2 diabetes than it is to reverse toenail fungus. It's a simple one. Basic physiology. Just make sure these things happen, and boom, it reverses. You just remove those issues, and it reverses. It's not like you got to figure out a lot of stuff. Cancer, on the other hand, that's complex. But anything out there regarding our health, here's the best answer that I have found so far. Have you ever gone and prayed on a car and go, that car just ain't right, and you don't buy it? And you pray on another car and you go, I have peace, and you buy the car? You know what I'm talking about? Who knows what a Farmall is? Okay. Who knows what a Super MTA is? Okay. I was wanting a Super MTA. And I wanted it for my grandkids and the neighbor kids to pull around a hay wagon and just get out in nature and get on a hay wagon, and enjoy nature. So I've been looking for one. And this fella came in one day and he says, Walt, I found a Super MTA for you down in Athens, which is about, I don't know, it's over 2 hours from the house. From that fella's house, it's probably 2.5 hours away. And so I called him, and he just restored it. I mean, it was beautiful. It was pretty like that car right there. I mean, he just restored it. Paint job looked beautiful. New tires on it. Rebuilt the engine, new seat cover. I mean, you could take to the fair. So, and I asked him. I said, "Well, how he had? I noticed he had 2 tractors there in the picture." And I said, "How much you want for it?" Well, he told me he didn't even have that in his tires. And I said, "Why are you wanting that price? I mean, you don't even have that amount of money in your tires, them new tires you got." He goes, "Well, as you saw, I have 2 tractors. I got an M and a Super M. And my wife, she says we ain't got room for both of them, and she likes the M. She said, get rid of the Super M, and I'm just trying to keep her happy and get it out of here as quick as I can." Okay, I understand that. So I said, well, let me pray on it. His response was, okay. Why? He's in the Bible Belt. So I prayed on it. No. I argued with God for a whole week. But God, this is a deal. I mean, look at the price. I got to watch my money. If I'd bought a tractor like that and just had to put tires on it, I'd put more money in what he's asking for. Plus, he's willing to drive it up here on his truck free. No. But look, I can do all this with these kids in the neighborhood. You ever do that with God? A week I argued with God. No. Finally, after a week, I said calf rope. Y'all know what calf rope is? Anybody know calf rope? It means I give up. Tapping out. Okay, God. So I called the man back a week later. And I said, "Sir, this is Walt." I said, "I do not know why, but God said no." And he goes, "I understand." Why? He was from the Bible Belt. He could have been a good old Baptist, Methodist, whatever, but he knew praying. Now, that's a question I got for God when I get to heaven. Why'd you say no? And it could have been I would have turned that tricycle over on that mountain road I'm on that's on the side of a mountain, and it does not need to be on that mountain. It's too big a tractor, wrong tractor. And God's just protecting me or my kids trying to drive it. And I think that is the answer. There are times that we do our research because God gave us a brain. Do your due diligence. Okay, God, what do you want me to do? We are a caregiver. We are taking care of a body that does not belong to us. 1 Corinthians 6 says Christ bought our body. We're just caretakers. And in 3 says if we don't take care of it, He will destroy it. And so on questions of anything you ask God, but especially here, I don't understand it, God. You know, in the 1870s for tuberculosis, they prescribed smoking cigarettes. Today we look at how stupid, but that's what they thought back then. And so we may not fully understand, and so you pray on it. And you say, God, what do you want me to do? And that's between you and God. It ain't his or hers or whoever. In Testimony Volume 1, she tore up New York City. New York City was, super critical of Michigan. Michigan was still eating meat. And she says, you leave them alone because they don't have the ability of fresh foods like you do in New York City. Over in Michigan at the time was kind of still rural country. And they, meat was the best thing they had. Until they could get what they needed, leave them alone. And so if God's told someone to do something, it is not your place to say you're doing wrong. That's going back to that church I was mentioning earlier that's worrying about everybody. Just, that's their business. Do your business. They're going to do their business, if that makes sense. And do what God tells you to do. And the question you ask, I don't know.
I've got a daughter that has an eating disorder that has been undiagnosed as orthorexia, because there's other people that I'm acquainted with that have the same eating disorder. She's in denial, period, but is an eating disorder a psychosomatic situation or whatever?
It can be. Absolutely, like anorexia.
Right.
Nervosis.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So it can be a psychological.
So you've never heard of orthorexia?
I've heard of it, but I'm not sure how to address it.
Well, I've been told that it's a righteous eating disorder.
Okay. Have you heard of anything that's worked for it?
Well, I know two people that have it, other than my daughter, and they struggle with it on a regular basis. It seems, well, it's a spiritual eating disorder is what it is, which we know where it comes from. It isn't from our Father. It comes from the enemy. So mental imbalance, satanic influence, psychosomatic, I don't know. I'm not a doctor, so I don't know. But
I would try this from what you've told me so far. I was in Minnesota. Just a couple of weeks ago, I was speaking at a camp meeting like this for a week. And I go there every year. And I know this family. It's a farming family. Mother's a nurse. And I go in. This was 3 years ago. And the mother had to hand walk the daughter to go sit down up there. Literally. Her ambulation, her cognitive function, she looked like her processing was like a 90-some-year-old woman, 18 years old. So I asked the mother, what's going on? She said, we don't know. We took her to the University of North Dakota. They couldn't figure it out. We took her down to Mayo Clinic, and they did all kinds of workup on her down in Rochester. They live in Minnesota. Rochester sent her home and said she'd be an invalid the rest of her life. Her condition could not have had children, raised children. A 90-year-old woman cannot raise children in that condition she was in. A feller's not going to say, I want you as my wife. She's not going to be able to do what she needs to do to take care of that side of the house, of the family. And I said, we got to pray. And so I said, go home and I want you to pray on this, juicing. And I told them about who's watched the documentary of Australia. They kind of got a weird, strange sense of humor. It's called Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead. So I said, go home and watch that. University of Alabama at Birmingham, UAB. If you are a cardiac patient, see, the second major expenditure of the heart is digestion of food. And so it takes a lot of energy out of the heart to digest. In UAB, if you are a cardiac patient with an ejection fraction of 10, 15, 5, they will juice you for 70 days. 70 days. That's all you do, juice. Because people who go to UAB are from Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, Georgia, Tennessee, and what do they eat? Biscuits and gravy and hog jowl and chitlins and steak and eggs and bacon. That's like running up 3 flights of stairs on a cardiac, and you get a heart attack. So they found it is best to just plumb take the food out because they're not going to be able to cut back and just juice. That's all. And then Dr. M over in California, he juiced for 90 days for his patients. I said, go home and pray on it. So I went back home, and about 8-9 months later, I saw her. She worked from one of our big lifestyle centers. And there she was, wide open again, just like normal, just all over the place, doing whatever. And I said, what happened? She says, well, Mom and I went home. We prayed on it. We didn't have peace at 60 days. We didn't have peace at 70 days. We had peace at 90 days. She said, we both juiced for 90 days. And she said, it went away. And what happens is, going back to what that surgeon taught me many years ago for brain function, you've got to do 2 major things. Give the brain what it needs and take away what it doesn't need. Who knows what hyperalimentation is? TPN, total parental nutrition. It's where you give a central line into a patient and it comes straight from pharmacy. It doesn't even go through the digestive tract. Well, juicing does go through the digestive tract, but it's when you digest food, it takes 2.5 to 5 hours to digest. When you digest food with fiber, when you juice, it's in the blood within 15 to 20 minutes. So it takes that work off the heart, the work off the body, and the body then can improve significantly. Dr. Calvin Thrash, Agatha Thrash's husband, said juicing did 2 things. It gave the body copious amounts of good nutrition so the body would run better, and it stopped all the bad stuff from coming in. That would be good, along with water and sleep and that kind of thing. And it gives the brain, what we're talking about here, some just quality nutrients. And then, does she ever have stress?
She's married to a stressor.
Okay.
Yeah, her husband's, I believe, 90% of the problem. And that's what precipitated the eating disorder.
Yes.
And so she's taking the path of least resistance because she doesn't feel like she has any choices.
In 1977, an old doc at Florida Hospital told me, he said, Walt, if you want to help patients with stress, he said, B-complex is the best thing he ever found. Like a B-complex 100, 3 times a day with food or water. Another great one is lithium orotate, and magnesium. That can also help. By doing the juicing, the supplements, the exercise, making sure her vitamin D is good, making her B12 is good, that can give her body what she needs to hopefully to address it.
Well, she's in isolation. She's broken off contact with family. And this has been going on for a year.
Yeah.
Just basically, I don't know.
That's what I would recommend. Another question. Yes, ma'am.
Can you comment on the contents of or the ingredients for the juicing program?
Yes.
Just more specifics on
Sure.
what exactly they
Let me
juice
give you some
and-
examples
and
here.
then how they juice.
Sure. If Mary Lou had her way, she would only juice because she has so much energy from it. But I told her she can't juice the rest of her life. She's going to have some fiber. Let me go here. Here, can y'all see those? Yeah, it's kind of difficult, ain't it? Is that any better? So here's some things. Green apples, spinach, kale, carrots, ginger, lemon, romaine, parsley, lemon, beets, Granny Smith apples. these are Mary Lou. You want me to give you Mary Lou's recipes? I'll give you her recipes. When we had our deli, we would make sometimes over 100 juices a day. We had to close our deli. Mary Lou started having some lung issues, wheezing and rattling in her chest, and we got a chest X-ray, and the pulmonologist said, well, it's emphysema. Her daddy had smoked 3 packs a day, and she lived at home until she was 18. So we started addressing it as pulmonary, but didn't fix it. Finally, she couldn't go up the stairs, and she got bad. So they looked at her, and she had an ejection fraction of 10-15. And they went in to look, and they said she was clean as a whistle. But they said, did you ever take this drug? And she says, yeah, back when I was 15 and 16, is adriamycin, which we call the Red Devil. She had leukemia, and it was a chemotherapy drug. Now, University of Alabama says that usually a person, it affects their heart within 10 years. The most they'd ever seen was 25 years. Mary Lou now has the record of UAB. It took 44 years before it took it out. And they said because of her lifestyle is what it was. And so we closed the deli because of that, because she just, she's doing better. She's got an EF back up to 35-40, which is a whole lot better than a 10-15. And they told her that she wouldn't live a year without a mitral valve being put in. And you can't put a mitral valve in until you got a 35 because it's not enough to open it. And when she got up to a 35, they said her mitral valve was working perfectly again. So she's just doing better. But I'm not happy with the 35-40, and so we haven't opened the deli back again. But here's her recipes. And her most popular was a green drink. And that is 4 leaves of spinach. 4 leaves of kale, 2 handfuls of spinach, a half a bunch of parsley, 2 celery. Now, if you wanted to juice long term, go to 4 celery to get enough salt. 2 to 4. If you're juicing long term, like that gal did for 90 days, you need 4 stalks 3 times a day of celery to make sure you have plenty of sodium. But if it's just short term, just 2. 1/4 of a cucumber, 2 apples, a piece of ginger the size of your thumb, the juice of 2 lemons. No, I'm wrong. A half a lemon. And if you want to you can put some turmeric in it. And that was her green drink. Her orange drink was 4 to 5 carrots, and then the same in the celery, the cucumbers, the apple, the ginger, and the lemon. And then her red drink was the same as the orange drink, but it had about a half of a beet with it. But be careful. This lady called me one day, and she says, why are you trying to kill me and my husband? Some people can get tore up. Well, she was one of them tore up people. Why are you trying to kill me and my husband? Just screaming on the phone. I said, what? She says it again. I said, what are you talking about? She says, you told my husband and I to drink juice and we're peeing and pooping blood. I said, ma'am, did you put any beets in there? Yeah. I said, how many did you put? She put, well, I put 2 big ones in each one. I said, ma'am, you're peeing and pooping beet juice. Oh, okay. She hung up. So be careful with beet juice. It might turn things color. And another thing on hypertension, that lady asked hypertension. We're having phenomenal benefit with using 3 caps 3 times a day of beet powder. Working very well on hypertension. And that will cause a reddening of the stool. And can even the urine, but definitely we'll see a reddening of the stool. Yes, ma'am. What juicer to use?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was using the Champion juicer, but it doesn't take out a lot of juice like it used to. And then the NAMI J2, I saw it's now $5.99. So is there something that would be like the Champion that you would recommend, but less costly than the NAMI?
Yes.
Thank you.
Who's ever heard of Dr. Schultz? Don't listen to him. He's got a bad tongue. But he writes real good. But he's got bad mouth. He's got a dirty mouth. But his information is really good. And Schultz says, just get a juicer. Because some people just, they don't have the money, and just at least get something. Doug Batchelor says, if you don't have money for a juicer, drink V8 juice. And I found it works. It's not as good, but it sure works for that drug addict that comes in and ain't got a lick of money and they're trying to come off drugs. Or that person who just comes in, they're just extremely poor and they don't have the finances yet to get going because they're so sick. I send them to the dollar store and get dollar store V8 juice. And it works. God blesses it. Can God bless it? Sure he can. And so there's different kinds of juicers. You have, like Joe Cross used in the Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead. He used the Breville juicer, which is a centrifugal. Now he's using the NAMI, just like Katrina uses. And there's the Champion. Well, the problem with the Champion, they don't make Champions anymore. And if the Champion's not making as much, it's probably those little teeth aren't like little pyramids anymore. They're kind of nubbed over, and they're just not making it. And I tell people, at least get something. So then there's the Champion, there's the Green Star. Green Star's a really good one. The Omega can be good. The NAMI is a good one. You're now jumping up into money. And then you get into the Angel, the Super Angel. Now you're into $1,500–1,600. And then you get into the Norwalk. You're over $2,000. Best way to buy a juicer I have found is go after that NAMI, but go to Marketplace. It's just like a treadmill. People buy a treadmill and don't have time for it. They hang their clothes on it, and their spouse says, "Get rid of that thing," and they put it on Marketplace. And you can literally find juicers like 25% of the regular price, and like a $400 or $500 juicer for $150. And you're gonna pay $100 at Walmart on the cheap one. And so I would look at Craigslist or at Marketplace for one of them better ones, and that's been used a few times, and it works very well. You're welcome. Any other? Oh, and there's a gal. Let me show you here. Let's see here. And I'll have to clarify, especially with this group. I clarify with everybody, but I just don't want y'all thinking I'm plumb crazy. Mary Lou watches her. I don't watch her because she has a little problem. Who knows this girl? Anybody ever watched her? Katrina? Fully Raw? She's from Texas, from Austin. I was speaking down in Austin, and I was in. Well, anyway, down in Texas, wherever it was, near where she's from. Everybody knew her because they used to buy food from her when she had the produce place. Now she's in Hawaii. I think she left most of her clothes in Texas, because she dresses like she's on the beach. So she's got really, really good information nutritionally, but she's got another issue that I don't agree with, but it's not a big, you don't see it really. But she's got a lot of really good information, and Mary Lou watches her, takes her courses, and she's really good at juicing, raw diets, that kind of thing. She just dresses like she's on the beach, and she just needs to stick some clothes on. That's her problem. Yes. And she flirts with it, and it's because she went to Bali. If she stayed in Texas and not gone to Bali, she'd be fine. And I'd love to sit down and talk to her. But anyway, she claims to be a Christian, and sometimes they just get mixed up on that. Any other questions? Yes.
I see a lot of chronic venous insufficiency there, a lot of leg ulcers for that reason. And I'm wondering, what the problem is, because it's a lot. I don't know whether it's their whether it's the coffee drinking that they do a lot of coffee drinking, and lack of proper nutrition. You know, they.
How's their nutrition?
No tobacco use. A lot of women have that problem, so and they don't smoke. No.
Does tobacco, is this all? Testing, testing, 1, 2, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, KG, 4, ZB1. Testing. Can you hear me? Okay. So it is true that tobacco is a vasoconstrictor. That is why when you do wound care, they've got to be tobacco-free because you're not going to have adequate perfusion. And so if they're using tobacco, are the women using tobacco? Oh, okay. I thought you said they were. Okay. I went to Honduras back last year. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Beautiful. Their meat utilization was a lot. Are your folks using a lot of meat? Okay.
The tortillas and rice, white rice.
Okay.
That's, yeah.
And mostly I saw the heirloom corn. I did see some
Yeah,
GMO corn.
right, but
most
yeah.
is heirloom corn.
Yeah, it's heirloom corn. So, it was curious to me because I see a lot, and it's mainly the women.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I need more information. Something's going on.
I know they drink a lot of coffee, so I don't know if that might be.
Yeah. I'm not. Maybe I just need to come spend some time with you.
There you go. Yeah.
Now, you can use many times skin issues are blood issues. The skin is the largest organ. It's one of the elimination systems. We have a lot of boil issues where I'm from. Y'all know what boils are? Boils. And they have a lot of boils. That's a blood issue. And so things like chaparral, burdock root, red clover, that will clean that blood is very important. And when I clean that blood out, those issues resolve many times. Dogs, and do they have our wheat there? No, okay. Because our wheat is now causing that in America, especially in animals. With dogs that have issues like that. If I go to a grain-free, and then I'll use chaparral. And chaparral is phenomenal, but y'all don't have chaparral down there. But you could take it, and it's a great tool. You have burdock? Burdock do you have red clover? Yeah, red clover is just down the street right here. But red clover is really good. Miss White said we should drink red clover every day. Yeah. Any other question?
Yeah, well, I think we should probably wrap it up.
Wrap it up now? All right.
Yeah.
Well, y'all.
Maybe close with a prayer.
Let's do that. All right. Our dear Heavenly Father, Lord, we thank you so much for your love and your care in giving us these natural remedies. Lord, help us to discern what the root cause is. Help us to find what that sandpaper is. As we're just talking right now, we got to figure out what that is and not just mask and manage it. Give us that wisdom. And Lord, then we ask that you bless. You're the medical director. We're just the caretaker. And share with us what we need to do. And Lord, help us to understand it's not just for us, that we can't be selfish and use this information just for ourselves, but help us to be able to understand and how to implement it within our family and community and coworkers as an entering wedge. We ask this in Jesus' name. Amen. Yes.
Well, thank everybody for coming. So at 1 o'clock, we're going to be serving lunch, and then our next meeting will be right here again at 4 o'clock this afternoon. So, thank you.